We're going to move on to Marcia Hinds, who is amazing, and her story is amazing, and we're very excited to have her with us. Marcia, are you here? Hi.
I'm here. Thanks for having me, Jessica. I'm so happy to be a part of the Autism Research Coalition. I think in a very short time, you have done amazing things. And I have to say that I agree with Tatiana about total load and Deandra about some of the things that she was talking about too. So thanks for having me. Jessica, are you there?
Can you hear me, Marcia?
I can hear you. Do you want me to just start?
You know what? Let me just do a little intro, and then I know you're amazing. I've already read your book. So to everyone who doesn't already know, Marcia Hinds wrote, "I Know You're in There, The Winning the War on Autism." The inspirational book is the story of her son's recovery. Ryan works as an aerospace engineer, but more important than that, Ryan has friends and is leading a typical life. Marcia has degrees in sociology and psychology from UCLA and is a credentialed teacher. But Marcia's most impressive credential for writing this book is that she is Ryan's mother and their family survived the autism diagnosis. Preview her book on Amazon or on her website, autism-and-treatment.com. All profits from Marcia's book go to spread the word that autism is treatable. Please take it away.
Okay, thanks, Jessica. I just want to say to all the parents out there that helping my son recover from autism is the hardest thing I have ever done. And I don't want anyone to feel as alone as our family did when we were living on Autism Island. I was once where many families are now. I was scared and overwhelmed by my child's diagnosis. The hardest part of autism is living with the fear we have for our children's future. My husband and I worried about who would take care of our son after we were gone. But an autism diagnosis no longer has to mean game over. It's important to realize our kids are in there and intelligent, even though they can't show us or communicate that. Today, my son works as an aerospace engineer, has good friends, and leads a typical life. If you had told me any of this was possible when Ryan was first diagnosed at age 4, I never would have believed you. My son was not high functioning. He was severely affected. At first, even I didn't believe he could have any kind of life. Most of what I did back then was so when I had to find placement for him, I could tell myself I did everything possible to help him. But autism no longer has to be a life sentence. It's medical and it's treatable. It's not easy, but our kids can get better. And now I'm hoping Enrique can show the 90-second video of my son before and after interventions. The experts told me my son would have to be institutionalized, but they were wrong. What the general public and most doctors don't know is that autism is medical and treatable.
When doctors believe that medical issues associated with autism are just part of a developmental disorder, children are not treated for the same medical conditions as every other kid. Is that really okay?
I'm Ryan's mom, and I wrote the book, I Know You're in There, Winning Our War Against Autism. Autism recovery is never easy, but with proper medical intervention, what I wanted most for my son actually happened. Ryan is happy and has friends. I want that for your child too. It's about living on Autism Island. It's about how difficult it is to be in the A Club. It's mostly about hope.
The subtitle being Winning a War on Autism. It was a war. It was a battle that we were fighting for a lot of years.
Here is what Ryan had to say about his experience in the documentary Restoring Balance: Autism Recovery.
I think we need to understand what the root cause of autism is, not just the symptoms. As an engineer, when we're trying to fix a problem on an airplane, we need to understand what that root cause is, not just the symptoms, in order to come to a solution.
All profits from my book, I Know You're In There, go to spread the word that autism is treatable. You can preview Ryan's story on Amazon. Go to my website, www.autismandtreatment.com. It's the first video on the website, and you can see it there. It shows Ryan before and after interventions. And I'm going to start off by just sharing what Ryan said at the beginning of the book. Some people think we should just accept autism, and that if a child is treated, it changes who that kid is. I'm still the same person I was, only now I'm happy and I can enjoy life. It's hard to understand that children are not receiving proper medical attention because some people think we should celebrate autism. When doctors believe the medical issues associated with autism are just part of a developmental disorder, children are not treated for the same medical conditions as every other kid. Is that really okay? I think Ryan nailed it. I think it's really important that we talk to our kids like they understand every word we are saying. And it makes me a little crazy when I see parents speak negatively in front of their children, because they do understand. And I used to talk for Ryan when he couldn't. When I saw a meltdown starting to happen, I might say something like, I can see you're very frustrated. Let's see if we can figure out what's bothering you. Are you hungry? Do you want to go outside? But I have to admit, it's really hard to keep talking to a kid who doesn't respond. All I got was that blank stare. Ryan gave me nothing. Not a look, not a nod, not a smile. Yet, I continued to talk anyway. And it wasn't until he could communicate that I realized Ryan had learned from these one-sided conversations. Most times, it looked like the lights were on and nobody was home. But don't underestimate your kids. It's hard to realize just how smart our children are when they have limited speech and or might be nonverbal. J.B. Hanley and his son Jamie just wrote a book called Underestimated. Jamie was 17, nonverbal, and had very severe behaviors. But once he learned the Spell to Communicate program, most of his autism behaviors went away. Think about it. When a child is in the terrible twos, why are they so awful? It's because they know what they want to say, but yet they don't have the skills to say it. With Jamie, soon he was doing calculus and all kinds of things they never thought were possible. Imagine how frustrating it would be if your teachers talked to you like you didn't understand anything they said and taught you the same thing over and over again when you had the capacity to do so much more. I highly recommend this book, and I know the Spelling to Communicate program will change lives. Behind the child that makes the most progress is an actively involved parent. Get educated. Do your own research. Don't expect doctors to educate you. They usually charge a lot of money for that. Don't wait for someone to do this for you because nobody wants your job. The sooner you help your child's immune system work better, the less you will have to do to catch them up on what they missed. The best therapist is a parent. What you lack in skills, you make up for in your love and perseverance. No one knows your child better or cares as much as you do. You know, when we were in Minnesota, I would have paid anything for somebody to do this for me. But, you know, Ryan's now 32, and back then there were no therapists to help us. But I want to also warn you that even if you could wave a magic wand and make your child's bodies work perfectly, you still have to catch them up on what they missed. ABA, floor time, or whatever rehab program you like all work once our kids can learn. When we first began, the one behavior that made me crazy was that Ryan used to bite and squeeze his sister until she cried. And my husband and I were both trained in ABA. We were ABA therapists 15 years before Ryan was born. And we used those methods, but they didn't work on Ryan until we started the antifungal medication. And that's when he could learn. You have to understand that I was the kind of mom who gave my kids fun fruits or pizza for breakfast. I wasn't really concerned about nutrition. And when I contacted Dr. Rimlin at the Autism Research Institute, he suggested I take Ryan off of dairy for a week and then give him a glass of milk to see what happened. That was one smart guy, because if he would have told me to put Ryan on a non-dairy diet, I'm not sure I would have done it. But any of us can do anything for a week. Try it with your kids. Take them off dairy and then give them a glass of milk at the end of the week. The change in my son was amazing. He was more focused and he could follow my directions better. I'm not a doctor, but these are the medications that are important for recovery. Antifungals, antivirals, leucovorin, and SSRI, and vitamin D. We didn't use many supplements, but Ryan did have to take iron even though he was not anemic because his ferritin levels or iron stores were low. Our kids are very ill, and a lot of times doctors prescribe supplements that you can only buy from them to help them. Now, I have an email if any of you need help with the medications that helped Ryan the most. And all you have to do is email me or call me, and I will help you with that. Please let me know where you're located, because my doctor lists are by location. So if you need a doctor, I can help you with that too. For our children, it's a question of total load on their immune systems. The more you can reduce the total load, the more our kids can learn what they couldn't before. One of the families I helped had a nonverbal child. This child was 5 and was going to one of the biggest autism specialists in New York. And after starting the antifungal medication, the child started speaking for the first time and even told his mom that he loved her. The mom asked me why her autism specialist didn't know about the antifungal treatments. I told her it's not that he's not dedicated, it's not that he doesn't care, he just didn't study these kids the way I studied Ryan. You know, I looked at this child for 25 years and I learned a lot, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I did a lot of crazy things. And I put those in the book because I want you to know these feelings and craziness happen to all of us. But you have to keep moving forward, and you have to keep doing the things that help their immune system most. One of the things you have to do is trust your gut and lead the doctors down the path you want to go. And one mistake that a lot of the doctors make is they think they can give the antifungal or the antiviral medication to their kids for just a short time. But Ryan has been on these medications since he was 4. It's important to do one medication at a time so you can tell if there are any ill effects. And it's important to do blood tests every 2 to 3 months so you know if a medication has a problem. Ryan has never had an irregular reading for his liver or kidneys. And I have helped thousands of people. I never charge for what I do. I just want all kids to have what my son now has. And if you do these medications, I can count on one hand the number of kids who had trouble with them, but the doctors are afraid to use them continuously. And that's what needs to happen to help our children. Our children need a typical life. Okay, and a lot of these doctors put them on these medications for a really short time, and they think that's going to help them. And maybe for some kids, they can get off the meds, but Ryan wasn't one of them. I always say that Ryan's not cured, only recovered, because he still needs these meds to help his immune system work properly. It's a treatment, not a cure. Kind of like, think about it like diabetes, where an individual needs insulin for their body to work properly. So far, there is no magic bullet. You can trust me. I looked everywhere for it. And it takes many things combined to help our kids. It's not just one thing. So don't go into the doctor's office and demand what your child needs after you get my email telling you which meds work the best. You have to be smart about how you do this. It's always less intimidating if you ask for what you need in a question. Now, if you read my book, there's a doctor in there. I changed his name. In the book, his name is Dr. Harvey. And I changed his name because he was so ridiculous and so difficult to work with, although he was the doctor who helped us the most. And when I needed to change something, I'd have to go on and on about how wonderful he was for at least 5 minutes. Oh, Dr. Harvey, what would we have done without you? You know, Ryan never would have gotten better, and you're so wonderful, and on and on and on. And then I would ask for what I wanted. Would it be possible to switch from Diflucan to Nizoral? Because I think he's built up a tolerance to the antifungal medicine. And if I went through that whole thing, then he would change it. If I didn't go through all the compliments, he wouldn't. So be smart how you work with the doctors. They want to be appreciated. You know, mostly they have crazy parents like us that come in and yell at them and don't tell them what a good job they're doing. Our kids are tough to treat, so try and be kind. I believe that there are new things on the horizon that are really going to make a difference for our kids. I think fecal transplants and stem cells are the treatments of the future. They may not be there yet, but we're getting close. Right now, fecal transplants are only legal for C. diff and not autism at this time. But the research is happening that I hope will change that soon. Dr. Adams from Arizona State University is doing trials right now. And if you are interested in his trials, email me, I can give you information. And Dr. Hazan, Hazan, in Ventura, California, has a research facility. She invited me to come look at her research facility. I was very impressed. She got emergency clearance from the FDA to do a fecal transplant on a young child with autism. His dad is a producer on the Jimmy Kimmel Show, and I'm hoping that if this goes well, it will give our kids a lot of exposure, and Jimmy Kimmel will help. But until these things happen, we need to keep our kids' bodies working so they can lead typical lives. I made many mistakes along the way, but the one mistake I never made was to give up and to keep going. Jessica, does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Marcia. Well, people are very excited to see